This clip's brought to you by ServiceNow. AI is only as powerful as the platform it's built on. With the ServiceNow AI platform, your AI, data, and workflows all work together, connecting every corner of your business. To see how you can put AI to work for people, visit servicenow.com/AI-agents.
Wait, this is really interesting because I think casual fans are a little, with Roger and Rafa, right? I mean, they were the same height and they were exactly the same weight down to the pound. But then it was
I call
really
bullshit on that with Roger and Rafa, by the way, just so we're clear. Rafa,
I was like, really?
Rafa can bench press a car.
Yeah. I look at that picture of these.
Yeah, bullshit. I see pictures right here. No. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
6'1", 187. No, but I think then you watch, right? In any casual fan, this guy, it's lefty and righty, and this guy's making all sorts of noise, and the other guy's silent, and the contrasts were really obvious. With Sinner and Alcaraz, it's interesting because you see them physically at the net, and there's a good half a foot of height difference. But after that, I think casual fans might be. What would you tell the casual fan what to look for in terms of contrast in this rivalry?
Here's what I think, and Eubanks is going to bring up something smart that I haven't thought of after this, I'm sure. But for me, Sinner, as far as controlling the middle of the court, so you serve first ball, you return deep, first ball in the middle of the court. He's as good as I've seen at swallowing the middle of the court with pace. You can hit it hard. He will stay in that cross-court rally if he needs to, and you can't gain on him with pace. Nobody is going through Jannik Sinner. The reason that Alcaraz is able to have a level of effectiveness that no one on earth has against him is because he can hit every shot, right? He can hit the drop shots. On clay, he can fade away. If Sinner knows what's coming, it is curtains. It's like Ohtani and Barry Bonds looking for a pitch. They rarely miss it if they know what's coming. Carlos has 5 pitches versus a fastball and an off-speed pitch, right? And so that is the difference. Sinner's the best, one of the best I've ever seen at controlling the middle of the court, maybe along with Andre, except Andre wasn't 6'5", and he didn't have that movement and defense out of the corners, and he would tell you the exact same thing. One of the challenges, I think, when we go indoors is that Carlos loses one of his options, right? He can't flip the ball up and away from Sinner. He's not going to kick it out wide. The bounce stays a little bit more muted, right? So it's tougher to get out of Sinner's pocket indoors, and this is, I don't want to be hyperbolic, when you can't really go up and out of the zone, and then you kind of have to win points through his pocket, I think it becomes even more challenging for players when they go against Jannik indoors. Whereas, if you had a heat map of where people put you in trouble, Jannik's heat map would be between his shoulders and his knees, and he crushes you if he's in that heat map. Whereas Carlos has the ability to get outside of that heat map more than anyone else on earth. What did I get wrong there, Chris?
No, you hit the nail on the head with a few things. The first thing, when you were saying Jannik's heat map has such a wide range of strike zones that he can hurt you from. And so I always say, I think Jannik has 2 forehands. I think it's, you run him to the forehand side, he obviously can hurt you out of the corners. You run him to the backhand side, he can still hurt you out of the corners. When I was growing up, we were always taught, typically you want to approach to the backhand, you want to approach inside out because it limits their ability, because they have to it's kind of tough without a court, but they have to kind of cross their foot, maybe use a slice. You kind of get it's just a little bit more uncomfortable to hit it this way than it is from a semi-open position. Jannik is just master being able to just fire balls out of the corners on both sides. To Carlos's point, though, I really, I love watching Carlos because as a kid at the time who grew up watching the Big Four, I see elements of the Big Four in Carlos's game, every single one of them. I see the second serve return. We see Carlos now stepping up close to the baseline, stinging it on the backhand side. Reminds me of Murray. It reminds me of Murray, his ability to kind of step up, inject pace really quickly, and then get back. He's got a phenomenal lob as well. When he's hitting the forehand, I think usually I would say it's a bit more like Rafa, but I think his running forehand, and when he's looking to take time away, when he has to cut the angle off, take that forehand line and run to the net, his skills at the net resemble Roger, undoubtedly his ability. And the thing is, Carlos makes a lot of flashy volleys, but he's so technically sound. When Roger, I remember as a kid watching Roger volley, and coaches would always say, don't volley like that, because he's just gifted. He can break the wrist, he can break some of the rules that you kind of told how you need to get down at eye level. Carlos is such a technically sound volleyer. And that part reminds me of Roger. And of course, Novak, his defensive skills out of the corners, being able to kind of inject pace on the backhand, scrap and claw. Like, he has all of the big four. So in this matchup with Sinner, it's just about, we talk about he's a magician. It's just about playing the right things at the right time. And I think what we saw recently, this new implementation of crush and rush at times, where Carlos is just going to try to utilize all the tools that he has to keep Sinner uncomfortable. He can use the slice to kind of maybe bring Jannik up into the court, close to the baseline, and then try to sting him hard to the corners. Like, he's just trying to he's the only guy in the world who I think can move with Jannik. So he's utilizing his movement, he's utilizing variety to just try to get Jannik uncomfortable, because when he gets comfortable, especially indoors, there's not that much you can do. Now he's serving a joke. So it's like, all right, sweet. So he went 116 yesterday, set point, break point in the first, and Carlos missed the return because Carlos is trying to get in and be aggressive. Like, all right, yeah, if he's hitting seconds and crunch time at 116, 115, he's serving great first serves, he's firing winners on both wings. What do you do? What do you do is the major question.
I have so many things written down here, and I don't want to miss anything. With your comp on the big three and the big four, I think Carlos is a marriage of Roger, Rafa, and Murray, actually. I think Sinner is Djokovic 2.0. I think he's an inch taller. I think if the trade-off with Novak was 40-60 on the front foot versus I'm happy to D up, which I think is like an accurate thing. He can obviously punch you out if he needs to, but he was so good at just swallowing pace, making every point just brutal. I think Sinner's maybe the opposite. He's 60-40. He wants to get on that front foot, maybe a little bit earlier than Novak, but I think their games, without getting too creative, are the most similar. And then I think Carlos is this wrap-up of, on clay, that forehand comes off and it bounces over your head, right? He's able to flatten it out like Roger and use that kind of the amazing footwork, right? You can have a big forehand, but if you can't get your feet set quick enough in position, then you can't pull the trigger as often. I think the gift of Roger and the comp to Carlos is the footwork. Their feet barely touch the ground. They don't have to think about how to get in position. They can hit it big going left. They can hit it big going right. The angles they're able to take with their footwork makes their forehands feel even bigger than they are.
Yeah, taking time away on the forehand can make a ball sink 5 miles per hour faster. And if they run in and cut the angle and just get it early, it's like, geez.
Yep. It's just Roger was the master at that. He was a master of taking away time. He didn't knock your head off with pace, right? But he was able to read the game and then buy 3 or 4 steps, and all of a sudden he's redirecting and you haven't figured out what's going on yet, right?
Exactly.
He's the master of that. Carlos has that ability. The other thing he has is the ability, you said crush and rush, like Murray. On that backhand side, if you think about the way that Roger and Rafa return, Roger later in his career would step in and take cuts on the backhand side, but for a large portion of his career, he was so good at putting that chip in play, and then if you were neutral, you were actually behind. Rafa would have, preferred to go back and then kind of flip it up over your head with, this crazy spin mechanism that we had never seen. Carlos has the ability to hit those like punchy short returns like Murray did, right? And I think that's where kind of he's a mixture of those three, whereas Sinner, I think, is the next version of a Novak. So it's fun to kind of see how those tools play against each other, and kind of mimic patterns we've seen, but then they're taking on this new life based on these two guys and kind of continuing those chess matches.
Wait, let me throw a thought exercise at you. Instead of X's and O's, temperamentally, I would submit these two guys are nothing like the big three. I mean, Alcaraz has this permanent smile, and he's got this showstopper instinct. I mean, we talk about sort of Roger and his magic, but it wasn't often at the expense of sort of getting a reaction from the crowd. It was just his sort of genius expressing itself. And Sinner is sort of, I like the proto-Novak comparison. And if Novak had 2 extra inches of wingspan, and I mean, the Sinner
growing up with Polly, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point too. We haven't talked about, but I feel like but it's not Novak's temperament, and it's not the level of sports psychology and sort of the self-belief. I feel like one thing I love about this rivalry is that you could see the elements of the games from the previous generation, but in terms of temperament and personality and risk threshold, I don't see a lot of overlap. You buy that?
Yeah, I think so. I think comparing personality, I believe more now than I ever have in my life. Like, you make adjustments off your temperament and you try to figure out the best version of yourself to navigate through matches. And I also think, when I was growing up, it's like everyone had to try to act this way, right? It's like everyone went through the same process. Everyone went through, and I've talked about this when we've been speaking about Sabalenka is the most obvious example now of, like, you have to play to your personality and then figure it out, but not play to the opposite of your personality, right? I remember early 90s, like, everyone, they all wanted us to deep breath. They all wanted us to fist pump this many times and have this positive reinforcement. And some people need to just blow a gasket.
Rip your shirt.
Well, Novak's a master at creating friction because he's really good at leaning into friction. Like, he's able to find his spaces. Rafa is great at, like, oh, I don't know how it's going to go. I hope I can just win 2 rounds. And then he gets you like a dog with some meat on it, right? Like, everyone has to find their pacing. So, yeah, I mean, I think their personalities are different. I think Roger enjoyed hitting crazy shots more than you guys are giving him credit for. I know
for sure.
Yeah, like, but I don't totally buy that. I don't think it's accidental that he sabers when he's up 2 sets to love. I like, he does it where he's not looking for it immediately, like Carlos. He does it more.
Yes, that's a great call. It's not like he's dying for it, but if the opportunity presents itself and he's in a rally with Nalbandian at the Open or Davydenko at the Open, and he's like, fire 1, fire 2, fire 3. By the 4th one, he's swinging out of his shoes and rips a winner, and 100%. He's like, kind of like,
Well, the difference is a smirk versus a finger to your ear and a look upwards, right? Like, that's the difference. That's basically what we're talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know that someone's going to look at the personality of Novak and say, okay, I have to create more friction. That's not Jannik's personality. Like, Jannik wants to get to business. He wants to keep everything inside. I think he feels way bigger than he presents. And then, with Carlos, it's like he's unapologetically, I'm going to show, I'm going to smile, and I'm also going to tell you when I'm not feeling great or inspired.
Yeah, that's my point. That they've borrowed elements of the tennis for sure, but they have their own personalities that they're not trying to. This is how Novak would comport himself, so I must now do this.
JW, real quick, I wonder how much of that is a generational thing. Just being younger. I think just younger generations are more open with sharing and just being kind of honest. We're it's not just in tennis, it's across the board. If you were watching an NBA game and you wanted to know what Anthony Edwards was thinking, he'll tell you. You want to know what Wemby's thinking, like, they'll tell you. Like, there isn't, it's not as calculated and as manicured, the responses in the media. I just want to go out and give my best effort. And
thank you very much.
We'll see what happens. Like, it's like, no, like, yeah, I feel good. I like the way that I played. And it's just, there's an honest reflection. Carlos said, hey, I don't have it right now. We'll figure it out. Like, when I was growing up, coaches were saying, you never tell your opponent or tell people that you're low on confidence.
I lied so much, Chris.
100%. I
lied to everyone all the time. Nonstop.
Did you guys hear, did you hear Carlos also saying, like, get ready for, I'm paraphrasing, but, get ready for 2026, Jannik, because I'm going to be there.
Yeah. The interesting thing you had mentioned, and we're kind of winding back to earlier in the conversation, JW, but there's so much to unpack with these two. But you said, what does it look like in Australia? So Jannik's obviously been dominant there. He showed up ready. I think Carlos kind of limped through the end of the year last year. He didn't look like himself at World Tour Finals. This version is very different, the way he finished this year and the way that he won 4 matches at World Tour Finals. Very different, I think. The career Grand Slam and potentially being the youngest, I think, still to potentially get that. I think that's going to be a big motivator. The difference is that if there's one thing to wonder about with both of them, actually, I think Carlos has spent more time, kind of, maybe it exposed him a little bit earlier. But if you get on the wrong side of that heat in Australia, I think Sinner has shown that, if anything, the heat can get to him a touch. Right? Whether it's Cincy, whether it's Shanghai and cramps, and we are absolutely nitpicking. Carlos also, with not knowing how to navigate the 3 out of 5, he went full body cramps at the French Open. So you said, in what world would these two not play in the finals of Australia? I think the single biggest factor is going to be conditions. If they get one of those days where they feel like they're playing in a hairdryer, I think that is going to be the biggest thing. Maybe not necessarily matchups, and they can cover up most of of earth. Is that too lazy of a take, Chris?
No, I think, like you said, with these guys, we're nitpicking. We're looking for any reason, like what could possibly happen within reason that would cause these two to not make the final based on what we've seen this year. And I didn't think of the conditions. The one thing I will say about the conditions, Jannik is especially Jannik and Carlos, they've kind of elevated to that stature now, whereas and you probably could speak to from a player standpoint of they come to Australia and they say, hey, we want to play this at night if we can. They're going to try to accommodate, like, if that's what they want to do. The second thing is I don't think the heat will bother them enough in the earlier rounds. I just feel like with Sinner, it can be done and dusted pretty quickly. So, unless they get some crazy, a tricky matchup against somebody like a Pechi Pericard, somebody who just keeps them out there 7-6 first set on a super hot day, another 7-6. Like, unless it's something like that, I just don't see in those early rounds who would be unseeded that could cause them enough trouble where it is actually going to become strenuous in the heat. So, yeah, I don't.
There's a 38-year-old from Serbia who may have a say in the scheduling too. But let me ask you guys real quick: if these guys do meet in the final, I'm sure you saw this.
Oh,
they will
nothing
both
like a
go into
3-month
that
ahead
match.
of time prediction in a finals matchup. This is what I love.
They will both. This is not a particularly bold prediction because it's rooted in math. They'll both go into that final with 1,651 points against the other one.
Crazy.
Do you guys see that?
Equal amount of points up to this point in their career.
You guys see that?
1651, 1651. Insane. What do you got?
That's what I was going to go with.
Craziest part about that is the head-to-head. You're like, oh, okay, they must have the exact same numbers of wins and losses. And then you're like, wait, 10-6? And they've won the exact same number of points?
Yeah, I mean, that's the go watch the Fed college speech. Where did he do that?
Yeah, well, I was going to hit you guys with that stat, right? It's
Dartmouth.
Yeah, Dartmouth. It's they've played 3,302 points, and they are currently tied at 1,651 points. In 2025, Sinner had 6 losses and 6 titles. Carlos had 9 losses and 8 titles in 2025. Both guys have 24 career titles. You know who else has 24 career titles?
Who?
Alexander Zverev.
Listen, okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, these guys are way up at the top.
It's a joke, and also there's a couple things. One, listen, I think we've gotten through. The one other thing I want to say about Sinner is doing an adjustment on your serve and changing where you're hitting it. You're too far out in front, bringing the toss back, adjusting it. It's too far right. So he's made a full adjustment on the fly, and it's pretty much worked immediately. One, that's not easy. That's impossible, especially when you start stress testing it in real time. He made it look easy when he went from platform serving, where he used to go off 2 feet, kind of similar to what I did, versus what Chris did, where he would bring it up a little bit more. He did that right after Wimbledon, or right before Wimbledon one year, and he made it. It sucks because we wouldn't spend enough time. If it went sideways, we would spend a full episode talking about it, and I don't want to gloss over it just because he's made these adjustments and been able to implement them in real time. That doesn't make it less difficult. I mean, it's an insane thing to do.
Is that like a hitter changing his stance, a quarterback changing his throwing motion, like a shooter changing his jump shot, like mid-season?
A shooter changing his jump shot,
Yes.
I think, is probably the best comparison.
Yeah. It's not like an arm angle on one serve, or it's not an adjustment on one shot or a free throw, or like something that's a subset of, like, he has to start half his points with this new thing and deliver it. And he didn't serve 50% in the U.S. Open final, and then he goes to Turin. The one against Alcaraz was actually his lowest first serve percentage of the week, but he was up over 70%. Now, he did it last year in Turin, but there's 2 things, and Chris actually got to this, which I think is a great point, and this proves what he was saying earlier, is there's being open to change when you're that good is really hard. And also the fact that he empowers his team to say, okay, well, I know you're this guy. I know you're Jannik Sinner, all those stats that you just talked about, and I'd like you to change this. And he goes, yeah, let's try it. Like, giving your team the ability for input is not the case all the time when you've been as successful as Sinner's been the last 2 years. I was a dickhead about it. I mean, I know that'll shock no one, but like, I was like, don't tell me, I'm not ready to hear it. But like, his ability to kind of be ready for information that may help him at all times, I don't think that's normal. Do you think that's normal, Chris? I think it's insane.
No, not to be that successful already. Being able to do, and especially middle of the year, change your service motion at the end of the year, go through the off season. All right, you've had some time, but right in the summer to show up, change your service motion before Wimbledon was. I remember when I saw it the first time I saw him serve, I go, whoa, what is this? Like, this is not. I played him in 22 at the Open, so it had to have been. Was it 23 when he changed the serve? I played him in 22, and he was platform. And then I just look up. First thing I see when he's sliding the foot up, not even sliding, he's actually picking it up and like putting it there. I was like, that's weird. Why now? And sure, what do I know?
Both of them, by the way, like you take their serves. I would argue that their serves are the most improved parts of both of their games over the last 3 years. Carlos could always hit it hard and big. I remember when he won Miami the first time, he was, the register was still 135, 137. The variety that he's able to hit, he used to be steep to where you knew that it wasn't getting as much motion. Like, you look at him now, he can hit the wide one in a returner's count. He can hit slice. He can mix up kicks. He's kind of developing almost that Roger thing where he is not scared to hit any serve in any pitch count. Right? And Jannik,
real quick, Andy.
Yeah.
He's also tinkering with his motion a little bit.
All the time.
You go back and
he's
look at
rounded
old
out the
video
bottom
of Carlos.
completely.
He's rounded out the bottom.
Totally.
Exactly.
Totally. He used to be like this, and now it's like think of it as your take back for you listeners at home. He used to take it down and up, and it was sharp, almost like a V. So your arms go down, it gets to a point, and it's sharp back up, and it looks like a V, which I think constricts the ability to create spin. Now it's almost like a rounded out U, which means his elbow more consistently gets back in the right spot. And he's done that in real time also, without a lot of attention. Like, the ability of these guys to constantly seek improvement and to be able to adjust on the fly, where we would be talking about it ad nauseum if they didn't make it look easy.